A great class of market hogs to start off our show in this one on under 100 division. For me today, I'm going to start with a pair of hogs that just puts together the whole pair of packages for me. Hogs that are very similar in type and kind and follow each other very well. For me, the number one hog rises to the top of the class. A hog that, as he tracks on with a good set of feet and legs. A longer strided hog that's long-bodied, has width over the top, and that carries from the ground up. A hog that has the breed characteristics that we're looking for. An overall hog that just puts together the whole fat package for me. Following closely behind, I'm going to go ahead with the 3 hog. The 3 hog for me is one that when you get from behind him, he's a little narrower, turns those hocks in ever so slightly. One that just doesn't have the width over the top near the upturn to the jowl and the nose, and just one that needs a little bit more of muscle shape and dimension to be placed above that one hog. The hog that's a little odd in the class is that number 2 hog. This hog just doesn't have the overall length of body and width over the top compared to the 2 hogs above him. A hog that is very well put together, just needs a little bit more muscle and mass to be placed any higher in today's class. A really great class of hogs to start out today's Market Hog show. In this Heat 2 of our under 100 division in this Market Hog show, I'm going to go ahead and start with a pair of hogs that I feel is very similar in type and kind. All 3 hogs are very similar, but there's 2 that rise to the top for me. I'm going to go ahead and start with the number 5 hog. This hog is one when they're driving at you is a very powerful type hog. You can see the muscle mass and shape over his top as he comes at you from the front, and when he goes away from you, that carries all the way throughout. A big boned, heavy strided hog that walks on a good set of feet and legs, one that I really like how he travels all the way throughout, and one that just has overall quality and mass throughout. I'm going to go ahead and closely follow with the number 6 hog. This black appearing hog is one that just doesn't have quite the bone density that number 5 hog has, one that doesn't have quite the width over the top near the muscle expression out through those hams and in that ham-loin junction. One that I would like to see a little bit more width through that front, especially as he hits the ground and comes up through the jowl, but one that sure has a lot of package and is going to finish out to be a really nice market hog. To finish out the class, I'm going to go ahead with that number 4 hog. For me, in this weight category, this number 4 hog is a little fleshy for me. One that isn't as lean as those hogs above him. One that as you get from behind him, as you look from behind him, he's a little narrow-hocked. Just doesn't have that overall width from the ground, allowing him to have more muscle and mass and quite the dimension of those hogs above him. But a really nice heat of market hogs in this under 100 division. In this 100 to 150 pound weight division, I believe we have 2 pairs of hogs in this class. We have 2 very similar hogs at the top and 2 similar hogs in the second half of our class. I'm going to go ahead and start with the 2 black appearing hogs in the class. For me, number 9 rises to the top of the class over the rest of the hogs in there. For me, this black hog is one that as he travels to and from me, just one that has the overall width at the ground and carries that up through his rump and neck and shoulders. One that has that muscle expression over the top, is level topped and carries it out through the rump. One that when you get from the side profile is one that is very deep sided and has that good amount of depth of body as well as overall shape and dimension. A hog that puts together the whole market hog package for me. Closely following the 9 hog, I'm going to go ahead with the spotted number 8 hog. The number 8 hog for me is one that carries a little bit more flesh than the number 8 hog. One that has slightly more bone, but for me just doesn't have the width at the ground compared to that 8 hog. This hog doesn't travel as well on those feet and legs. One that takes a little shorter stride, isn't as well as flexible as the number 9 hog, but one that when you get behind him and get over top of him, he has a lot of mass, muscle, and dimension. This hog puts the whole package together of mean and lean. This hog is big and growthy and has grown really, really well. A nice pair of hogs to start out the class. I'm going to go ahead and take that next pair of hogs, those 2 orange appearing hogs. I'm going to go ahead and follow with number 10. This belted hog is one for me that is fleshy, just like that number 8 hog above him. And that's where he drops into this hole very easily for me. A hog that as he walks away from you is a really fleshy hog. One that just puts that overall muscle mass, dimension, and shape, especially out through that top. One as you look from him carries that through the ham-loin junction so smoothly and is really athletic about. I'm going to round out the class with the number 7 hog. The number 7 hog for me today is just one that doesn't carry the overall bone and density that I'm looking for. One that just doesn't have the depth of body and the side profile compared to the other hogs in the class. One that could use a little bit more shape and dimension, especially mass, through that ham, and just doesn't have the overall quality and mass compared to the other hogs in the class. A really nice group of market hogs in this 100 to 150 pound division. This next heat of market hogs of 150 to 200 pounds is a really good class of hogs. These are some really growthy hogs that have really grown really well for you exhibitors. I'm going to go ahead and start with the number 11 hog, the orange spotted hog. One that is super athletic, especially as he travels on the side profile. One that's a big boned, heavy muscled hog, just very athletic throughout, and one that's very lean. I like a lean market hog, and this hog puts that whole package together for me. Has the overall shape over the top, as you can see, especially out through that chine. Carries that expression over the hams and the ham-loin junction, and one that carries that shape all the way out through that belly and that where the bacon is, especially in that ham area, and just puts together the whole package for me. Closely following, I'm going to use the number 12 hog. For me, the number 12 hog is a little bit more fleshy. I like a leaner made hog, and that's what puts this hog down for me. Just a hog that carries a little bit more flesh, especially out through that belly, but one that has overall a lot of muscle shape and dimension. One that as you watch it travel away from you carries that width ever so slightly over the hog that's the next place hog, but one that really puts together a really nice package, a really nice entry for in that second place hole. I'm going to finish out the class with the number 13 hog. This hog for me today is just a little bit too conditioned for me. A hog that carries a lot of flesh, especially out through that rump and in that hams. Those hams, you can see the flesh on it. One that has a big fleshy jowl. I'd like to see it maybe a little bit of toned up in that jowl area. A little bit too much belly for me over my preference, but really a really wide topped hog. You look at that hog for over the top, and he has a lot of quality over there. A lot of muscle and shape over the top. Maybe just slightly a little bit more dimension. Lacks the dimension over the two hogs above him, but a really nice class of 150 to 200 pound hogs. Just a single entry here in our 200 and over market hog class. This hog is a big one. As you track this hog from front and rear, this hog is a little narrow at the base, but one when you look at him, he has a lot of quality and package to him. There's a lot to this hog. For me, as I get above him, he has a lot of dimension and shape over the top. One that as you look at it, what I could say if I had one thing to say about this hog, I think he's a little fleshy, especially in that jowl area. These hogs are supposed to be fleshy and hairy, a little bit of jowl, but I think this hog has a little bit too much for my preferences. But one that I think as you look at him, he has a lot of quality to him. As he tracks, he walks ever so well for being, a heavier hog. One that as you get over the top, he has a lot of expression, especially in his chine. His chine is really a quality hog with that shape and dimension over the top, tracks really, really well, and has a lot of spring of rib and depth of body. A really nice entry in this 200 and plus class. It's been a really great market hog show, and for me today, there's been a lot of great classes. In our under 100 hog class at heats, we had some really nice entries, very similar in type and kind. That quality traveled up through our 100 to 150 with that heat of 4, and all the way up to our 200 plus pound single entry. For me today, there was one hog that really rose to the top, and that's the winner of heat 4, the 150 to 200 pound class, number 11. This orange appearing hog with the black spots is one that rose to the top for me. One of the more athletic hogs of our show, one that tracks so well as he walks away from us, as he comes towards us, one that has width from the bottom carrying all the way up through the rump. This hog might not have the most muscle expression, but he has a lot of muscle there, a lot of shape, especially over that top, through his chine, and one that carries the correct amount, a good amount of leanness as well as fleshiness for me today. That hog's going to go ahead and be our champion. For reserve, I'm going to go ahead and take the winner of our under 100 division, the number 1 hog. This hog may be young and a little bit green, but I think he falls in type and kind to our champion today. One that needs a little bit more time on feed before he's finished, but one that carries that muscle expression and shape over the top, one that checks so well and is so athletic, which is what we need in these hogs to make sure they are able to get to the feeder, able to eat, and able to get to a finished product. 2 really nice hogs to win out this show. These entries have been really good in this show, and I really appreciate the quality overall, all the way up through our 200 plus. Congratulations to everyone.